But let's take a look back at the weekend just gone. The World Series was back in New York for the second time, the US Darts Masters, and for the second time, Michael van Gerwen is the champion. He follows up that 7th Premier League title with a win at Madison Square Garden, and we spoke a lot about MVG on last week's show, so we're going to look away from events on the Oki, and there was a crowd of 3,500 in MSG on Saturday night to watch MVG win the title. Is darts now cutting through in America?
I mean, I can't say that it is. I mean, obviously it was well advertised in New York, and maybe it did get some attention as a result. And I know, there was some media that picked up on it. I know a few of the players were brought into shows in the New York area as guests and to talk about darts and to show what they're all about. But beyond that, I haven't seen any media attention about it. It didn't get mentioned on ESPN, which is our top sports site here. I don't think it was mentioned on any of the other ones as well. The network that televised it with DAZN, I think it's pronounced DAZN. I don't get it. I don't know anyone who does get it. It's a very, or at least relatively obscure channel. I know it's on some satellite provider, but I've never actually seen it. And as I said, it didn't get really mentioned in the mainstream media here. And as long as that's the case, I don't see how we can say the answer to this question is yes. That said, darts is growing in the U.S. I don't know which percentage of that 3,500 were Americans, or at least Americans and Canadians, but I know it's higher than it was in Vegas. I know the PDC made a big show about advertising to a British audience, as well as German and other European audiences, to go and buy tickets to fly out, have a holiday in Vegas, make a week out of it, at least a weekend, if not a full week. And a lot of people took them up on that idea. The New York event, sure, you can fly over, but the PDC aren't selling packages to the British audience to go and fly to that, because there's enough people who are going to it from the New York area, from other places in the US. That means there is obviously a base. And I've always known there was a base core group of darts fans here in the US. I'm part of that for starters, and have been for a decade now. And, I've gone to some local tournaments here. I've seen the people who play, and they all know who all the top pros are. They know who these people are. They watch darts. So there is a base here, but it's growing more organically. I don't think this event is doing that much to grow the audience, because it's still not breaking through into the mainstream. It's still not getting a mention on ESPN, or if it is, I didn't see it, at least not online. Maybe they showed highlights on television at 3 a.m, but they didn't mention it at all on the website, where most people get their content, where most people get their news or sports news. So I'm going to have to say no. The sport is growing. And if you do take the largest, broadest possible definition of cutting through, sure it is, but they're just minor incisions. It's still not getting into the mainstream, and that will take time, and it will take media attention and media coverage to get there. Credit for what there was. As I said at the beginning of this question, those Dimitri Vandenberg, Michael Smith, certainly some other players did go and do some media in the U.S., but it's still just small things until the actual event is getting promoted and shown on television networks that people get, or streaming services that people get. I don't see how it really cuts through with a punch. So I'm saying no, but it is moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm glad I got you to answer this question first, and you'll know a lot more than I do, being based in America. But I went and had a look back at the figures and some of the lines that were coming out from the PDC 12 months ago after that first event in New York in 2022 to see what the figures that were being given then compared to this year. And last year, the US Darts Masters, the PDC said there were more than 7,000 fans that attended across the 3 sessions. Matt Porter, the chief exec of the PDC, saying it was the most successful event ever in America. The crowds in Madison Square Garden, particularly on finals night, were hugely encouraging. And I've not seen a figure for the 3 sessions in total this year. But as I said a moment ago, the PDC have said that a crowd of more than 3,500 were in the Garden for Saturday night's final session. Getting a figure like that in for one session, it's a good sign that things are progressing. The interest is picking up, but you've got to say, America, it's a huge market, and we talk about it in everyday life about maybe singers, bands from here in the UK, or presenters, comedians going to try and crack America, make it big in America. It's a tough market to break into fully, and the sports market is exactly the same. There's some massive sports in the States, but that's not to say there isn't a market for darts, because the interest, it is growing, as you say, that organic rate, and I see it getting stronger as the years go on. And it is important, I think, for the PDC to walk before they can run, because we don't want them to step things up too quickly. And I think we can say with confidence it is going to be a steady but sensible approach from Matt and the rest of his team. And we joke with Rod Studd, the commentator for Sky, about how he hates the word momentum in sport, but I think in this case we are okay to use it, because there does seem to be some momentum for darts in the States, and it might only be a small dent or a small impact in the grand scheme of things, but nevertheless I think we can see that from the weekend, if you build the interest, bring these top players to compete against the best from North America, it is going to generate a crowd, and it's going to generate some form of buzz. And for me, I'm interested to see what the plans are from someone like Peter Cetera at the CDC, or Matt Porter himself, for the next 5 or 10 years with regards to darts in North America, because the popularity seems to be growing, maybe not at an astronomical rate, but I want to hear what their plans are, how they think they can make it bigger and bigger. And 2 years now we've had this event at Madison Square Garden, that the numbers in terms of attending seem to be going up, and I think that's a good sign. But overall, as you say, I think there's plenty more to come.